Welcome. Welcome everybody who's already joined us. Just give it a couple of more minutes for everyone to join us.
Yes, and while we wait, if you want to share in the chat where you're joining from, that's always lovely to see. What city, what part of the world.
Hi Sam. Hi Sham. Hello Aisha. It's lovely to hear from all of you. Please feel free to introduce yourselves. We'd love to know our audience. Just going to give it a couple of more minutes. Welcome to everyone who's joined us. Like we were saying, please, for all those who've just joined us, please let us know your name and where you're from. Just going to give it a minute or two more and then we will begin. Hello Arwa. Hi Rupa. Hello Mubarak. It's great having you all here with us. Thank you so much for joining in. We're also live on YouTube right now. So if you'd like, for all those who couldn't join us, if you'd like to share the link with your friends on YouTube, Worldview Education is where this session is also live. All right, great. So we will start our session now and we hope that more and more people continue to join us shortly. A very, very warm welcome to all of you who've joined us, everybody on Zoom, of course, and as well as the people watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for taking out the time on a working day, on a school day for you, and being a part of this session on the miracle of mindfulness. Before we begin, I'd quickly like to highlight a couple of things for all the attendees, and this will essentially ensure that we have a very smooth interaction. You will all see at the bottom of your screen, there's an option called the Q&A. At the end of the session, once our speaker is done with her session, we will open the virtual floor for a question and answer interaction. And we'd like you to direct your questions via this Q&A option. Kindly don't use the chat for the questions. We'd like you to use the Q&A option for any questions that you might have. So please keep your questions in mind, or you could always start writing to us, but we'll address these questions at the end of the session. So having said that, once again, a very, very warm welcome to all of you. I am Aparna from Worldview Education. For the last 10 years, Worldview has worked towards curating learning experiences across the globe for Generation Z. And to deliver these powerful and insightful learning experiences, we've been using tools like travel, conferences, outdoors, and simulations with the ultimate aim of transforming Generation Z into a generation of solvers. A key aspect of our learning programs has always been adaptive capacity. And we really believe that this very adaptive capacity is being put to test now more than ever. We feel that you, the Generation Z, have the ability to impact both your local and your global communities. And so we decided that a global lockdown was not going to come in the way of us facilitating your learning. And in this very pursuit, we have put together our first ever completely digital initiative, the Gen Z Solvers Interactive. And this is the ongoing season one, which started on 19th April. And the theme for this first season is Dialogues for a Post COVID 19 World. We've put together for you thinkers, dreamers, entrepreneurs, artists, and change makers from across the world to share with you their powerful and inspiring stories. And today we have with us Shalini Sarena. Shalini Sarena is an international award winning, positivity focused content creator, an entrepreneur, a yoga teacher, and a mindset coach. She is a citizen of the world. She was born in London but has lived most of her life in the US, traveling between Miami, San Francisco, New York, and LA. She speaks 5 languages and is also a certified yoga teacher as well as a meditation practitioner. Shalini is also a fiercely passionate advocate for diversity in the tech industry. She is the founder of Women in Tech and has over a decade of experience in strategic partnerships and community development with startups around the globe. She believes deeply in the importance of taking care of yourself and keeping healthy while on the journey of entrepreneurship, and that balance is the key to achieving this. Fun facts about Shalini, of course. Shalini is currently speaking to us from Bombay. She loves Indian food, but is also scared of the sound made by a pressure cooker. And now she's overcoming that fear because of her love for dal. She also happens to carry healthy food with her on flights. So she carries everything from chia seeds to capsicum to avocado because, what if she doesn't get healthy food to snack on while she's traveling? This is amazing, Shalini. Thank you so much for joining us. We're extremely glad to have you on board. And to all everybody who's watching us right now, like I mentioned, we will be opening up the virtual floor for a question and answer round in the end of this session. I hope you really enjoy this session, and I request Shalini to take it from here.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that very sweet and laughter-inducing introduction. Update for everyone. I now know how to use a pressure cooker with ease. I've got it down to a science now. It's just at first with that wild sound, I was like, this is not Shanti Shanti vibes. This is intense. But now I've learned that all it is a sound vibration, and it makes the cooking process much faster, of course. So thank you everyone for joining. It's such a pleasure to be with you this evening here in India, 6 p.m. on a Friday. And even though we're in lockdown, Friday represents that close of a week. It's also May 1st today. And whenever it's like a fresh Monday or the start of a new month, I don't know about you, but there's this energy of new beginnings, of new intentions that you're setting in place. So the fact that you have signed up for a mindfulness session on May 1st is no coincidence. And I just want to acknowledge you all for showing up today to drop into this dialogue and deepen your connection with mindfulness, meditation. And so to begin, I just want to share a little bit about what does mindfulness mean? And throughout this dialogue, I want us to feel like we're all in the same room together. We're sitting in a large circle and we're having a dialogue. How one person connects with their mindfulness practice may be completely different to how somebody else does. And we all learn when we rise together. So please, if you have questions, pop them in the Q&A as we go throughout. So very simply, mindfulness is being super present, coming into full presence. And that means bringing all your senses into the experience, not just putting food in your mouth while you're watching something, while you're texting something, while you're trying to memorize the alphabet in another language. It's about being super in the now, because the now is the only moment that is real. And many times people, when they associate mindfulness with meditation, and for sure, having a consistent meditation practice is a really beautiful way for you to actively practice being in the present moment. And for those of you that do have a meditation practice, and that can look like a stillness meditation practice where you're very still and you're just listening to your breath, or perhaps you're watching the clouds move, or you're watching the waves go in and out of the ocean, you're listening to the rainfall. Or perhaps instead of a stillness meditation, it's an active meditation, in the sense that perhaps you're chanting a certain mantra, or you are taking a walk very intentionally, even a run, or surfing, or whatever it may be, dancing even. These can be moving meditations. But essentially, mindfulness is all about how present are you with the now. Sometimes when people get into creating a meditation practice for themselves, and I would love for you to share on the chat here, do you have a meditation practice? What does that look like? Just so that we can see who our community is. And for a lot of people who begin to get into meditation, sometimes their concern is that thoughts keep coming up. They'll say, oh, I was meditating, but then this thing of my to-do list that I need to do came up in my head. Or, oh gosh, this thing that happened 2 days ago or 4 years ago came up. And then my mind rushed off to that thought. And when that happens, our minds are super active. We've been blessed to come into this experience on this earth as humans. And as humans, we're so complex and rich in the sense that we can learn such a vast array of things. We can learn new languages. We can do such an incredible amount of things, right? That being said, our mind is also really powerful. So it can sometimes take you away from the present moment, which is the only real moment. And sometimes when these thought patterns come up of something you have to do that's on your to-do list, or something that happened ages ago, you run off with that thought. And when you run off with that thought, what do you get away from? The present moment. And so when that does happen in your meditation practice, and again, we're human, we're not perfect. Even if you've had a meditation practice for 50 plus years, there are going to be days where it's like, oof, it's going to take an extra effort for you to get back to that center. And that's cool. That is part of the human experience. The difference is when that thought comes up that's trying to take you away from the present moment, you don't get attached to that story, nor do you get angry at yourself of like, I'm not doing this meditation thing right. It's just as if you're sitting in the witness seat of your mind, because you are not your thoughts. And just imagine that your higher self, the one who is super aware of the now, is connected to the present moment, is aware that we are part of something so much greater, that we're not just in our little bubble of our own little world, but in fact, we're connected to the collective. So when those thoughts come up, and they will, it's about not having judgment on those thoughts and simply just looking at the thought for what it is. It's just a thought. And sitting in the witness seat of your mind, seeing that thought come in and saying, okay, thank you, I see you, and I release you, and I'm coming back to my breath, or I'm coming back to my run, or I'm coming back to listening softly to the rain, whatever it might be that resonates with you as your practice. And what's beautiful is you can practice mindfulness in every moment. It's not just when you're sitting like Buddha under a tree and having your stillness practice. It's when you're cooking and you're super present with the chopping of each line of the onions that you're chopping up. And, you know, perhaps you're super connected to the now, meaning all of your senses are online. You are hearing each vibration, you are seeing the full spectrum of colors, you're not distracted. And so there's a very powerful book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now, which I highly recommend. If it's not something that you've read or listened to yet, it really puts things in perspective and shows you that, wow, yes, the only real tangible moment is the now. What good does it do us to be in this old story of something that happened ages ago or something that is coming up? Because these timelines don't exist. There's so much distortion. If you're thinking about something in the future, it may not even ever happen. And something that might be stressing you out in the future that doesn't end up happening, why put your body and energy through this future fear? So before we go any further, we do have some polls here. I'd love to get some context here. So again, mindfulness is simply coming into presence, full presence, being in the now. So that being said, whether you have a consistent meditation practice or chanting mantras or, you know, even anything that you're doing with like incredible detail and attention, like almost a sacred ritual in which you do that. So we're going to release a poll here, and I'd love for you to share. Do you have a mindfulness practice? Please answer here whether yes, you do. Love to get a gist of where everybody is at. And also, doesn't it take the pressure off that it doesn't have to look a certain type of way? If someone meditates using this mantra and this person meditates using this kind of breath work, it's all good. We're all one. And what's beautiful about this journey is that we're all one, and we all have certain nuances that speak specifically to our spirit. So let's see what the poll results are shortly. Please do vote. Wow, quite close to 50-50. So yes, 56% of you do have a meditation practice and 44% of you not yet. Amazing. You're on this call, and perhaps this discussion will be the activation for you to bring a mindfulness practice into your life. And as I mentioned earlier, what a relief that it doesn't need to look a certain type of way, that it doesn't need to be an intense, 10 months of silence until you're initiated into this mindfulness community. It doesn't work like that. It's simply making a choice in the moment. Are you here? Are you connected? Are you on this call? Are you super present? Are you hearing the sounds that are in your space, coming from my voice, the sounds of your very own breath moving? It's about checking in on that. So the reason why mindfulness is so important, we understand what it is. It's about being super present. Okay, cool, got it. What does being present, what benefits come from being super present? So one thing I want to share with you is, everything is energy. Just quickly in your own space, just rub your palms together and notice how quickly you generate heat between your palms. And if that happens quickly, it's like, wow, we are energy. There are all the elements in us: earth, air, water, fire, Agni, our digestive system, air, our lungs. Our planet is 75% water, so is our body. And so when we connect with the elements, if you notice, how much more at peace do you feel when you're out in nature, when you're by the mountains, when you're by beautiful trees and lakes and oceans, and just how your nervous system all of a sudden just relaxes and melts into ease. Why does that happen? Because guess what? Nature is not in the vibration of being in the past or being in the future. Nature simply is. It is simply just being. When the sun gets up every morning and you witness sunrise, it's not like the sun says, oh, today I'm just going to shine like 60% of my rays because I'm not going to shine to my fullest potential. No, it doesn't do that. It shows up and it's fully in the now. It takes up space and it's like, I am the sun and I'm here to shine. And similarly, our human experience is also to be here and be very present so that we can make the most of our human experience. Because if everything is energy, and if our mind is an old story, say something happened to you in your childhood, or something happened to you 4 or 5 years ago, that when you think about it, it causes you stress or annoyance or frustration, you're bringing that energy into your being. Whereas when things come up, and of course, we've all had our journeys in life. There is no perfect life path. Like it is joy and suffering, and it's the growth journey from that. Things are going to happen, of course. The difference is when those things happen, how are we responding to those things? And when you feel low or any vibration that isn't love, joy, peace, all of these elements, it's important to recognize it, move it through, and then make the choice at the end of the day to come back to your heart. So if everything is energy and we stay in an old story of like, oh, this happened to me, da, 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 we keep repeating that. And that is the energy that we're bringing into our physical being. And with the law of attraction, if that is what we're harboring in our being, we will attract more of that energy. So perhaps if you've noticed any cycles of like, oh, this thing keeps happening, you keep attracting these kinds of people in your life. What is the pattern there? And just getting clear on, is there something in the past that hasn't been moved through? And then in the sense of future fears, like I'm sure many of you have had those moments where you were thinking about this thing, and then the very next day you happen to meet someone who aligns so perfectly with what you were navigating and speaking about with this person, and it just happens by coincidence. It's not coincidence. It is law of attraction. It is synchronicity. It is you bringing up your energy space to a certain level and then the universe matching it. So the same thing with future fears or future timelines where it's like, oh, but what if this, and there's a possibility that da 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 da. If I am getting myself on this future element in the energy of fear, anxiousness, worry, I am bringing that future scenario, which may not most likely ever happen. I am bringing that energy into my physical being. And so what does that do? It firstly makes me feel not so good in my body. Think about it. When you're crying or hurt, you're afraid, what happens to your body? You get tight, you constrict. Versus when you're happy and you're joyful and you're just at ease and you feel safe, what are you? Your heart is open. Your heart chakra is open. You're in this element of receiving. You're in this element of gratitude. And so I'm also a yoga teacher, besides being a mindset coach and working in tech and such. And the reason why it's so important to get in your body, whatever physical movement you're doing, is so that we can move any stuck energy that may be in our system. This is the form that we decided to come into this experience with. And so it's important to keep your body clear so that the messages that the universe is providing for you all the time can land and be recognized by you more easily. So perhaps I'm interested to know if perhaps you have had those experiences where all of a sudden, you're thinking about someone and their favorite type of food or cuisine just happens to show up in your physical environment, or someone's name, you hear someone call out someone's name and that's exactly who you're talking about. These are signs that the universe is giving you. And when we do our meditation practice, so I practice Kundalini focused yoga. And so Kundalini refers to the energy at the base of your spine, at your root chakra, and that is moving up your spine, activating all the chakras, your solar plexus, your heart, which is right in the middle, your throat, which is connected to your expression, your creativity, your third eye, where we mark the tikka, the bindi. This is connected to your third eye, the seat of your intuition. And at the very top, your crown chakra. This is your connection, your energy portal to the infinite, to your highest self. And so in Kundalini, you do, yes, a lot of physical movement and asana, kriya sets, but also there's a lot of elements of breath work. So you can do alternate nostril breathing or rapid Kapalabhati breathing. And then there's also mantra. So it's about the energetics of things. And it's so important to have a consistent mindfulness practice. Like, we can talk about this, and you can apply mindfulness to so many things. I love to do it with my food, because your food is your medicine. What are you putting into your body? And yes, that fun fact was shared in the beginning, but yeah, if I'm doing long flights, and as you're hearing from my accent, I'm English, I'm American, I'm in India right now, I lived in Bali for most of last year, and plain food, isn't always the most nourishing. So yeah, I do travel with fruits and chia seeds and almonds and raisins, so that whenever I arrive, I can create a healthy breakfast or meal or that for myself. And that is a way of me being mindful of what am I putting in my body. And one thing I have is every time before I eat a meal, I rub my palms together just to, again, remind myself, everything is energy. So even this meal that what a blessing, number one, that when we're hungry, everyone who's on this call, who has access to internet and is able to join via their phone, via their laptop, when we're hungry, we get to have a full plate of food in front of us. What a blessing. So let's bring in some gratitude and mindfulness into that experience. Let's not just like blindly shovel food into our mouths while we're watching a Netflix series. Let's just take one moment before we eat to rub our hands together, remind ourselves, oh, we're energy, duh. And then one thing I do is I bring my palms over my meal and I gently close my eyes, and I bring deep gratitude into this moment, into the now. And so I say thank you for the food experience. So to the farmers who grew the vegetables and picked them, to the person who carried it to the grocery store, to the guy who I bought it from, and if I'm at a restaurant, the person who cut the vegetables and created the meal, the person who brought the meal to my table, whatever, like going through that whole experience. And if it's you, of course, that gratitude for you to taking the time for creating this meal for yourself, for your mother, for your father, for your brother, for your sister, etc. And then having gratitude for the meal itself and the whole process in which it got to your plate. And then also allowing space for gratitude for whatever else is present in your system to come up. So gratitude for the meal itself, and gratitude for, oh, I had this amazing dialogue with this classmate of mine, and we're going to be working on this, and just allowing that to come through. The power of practicing gratitude every day is one of the most powerful keys to living a happy life. Because again, everything is energy, right? And so when you're in an energy of gratitude, you're leading with such love and humility and joy and respect that is also what you continue to get back from the universe. It's like say you've baked cookies for like all the kids in the neighborhood, and you give cookies to each of the kids in the neighborhood, but the one kid who's like, thank you so much for this cookie, that kid is going to get extra cookies because he's giving the energy of appreciation. And then so more of that good stuff goes to that person's way. Same thing, when we recognize the blessings in our lives, the universe says, I'm glad you recognize it. Here's more. You're ready to receive. Because we are occupying our space with the energy of thank you. So even in these times where, yes, things are uncertain, but guess what? They always were uncertain. It was, if you ever thought that there was a time where we had control, that's a fallacy. We don't have control. The universe unfolds as it unfolds. That being said, we don't have control of the macro. We do have a choice, though, in how we respond. And everything is energy. I cannot emphasize that enough. If everything is energy, then what am I doing to charge myself up to be an energy receptor that sends out love, peace, unity, joy, just like ease, right? Truth, living in your truth. So this is a really powerful time. We're on this, there's 31 of us and perhaps more coming from YouTube as well on this call right now. It's a Friday evening in India. It's the 1st of May. And also a new moon is approaching. I'll speak more to that a little later. But new moon is all about setting intentions. What is it that you are committing to in your life? How are you showing up for yourself? And you just being on this call right now, I just want to acknowledge you all for seeing the title of this session and saying, mindfulness, meditation. This is something that you either have a connection to already or perhaps are certainly open to, as we saw by the poll earlier. And when you bring on a mindfulness meditation into your life, it allows you to have a happier life and just respond to things, not from a place of emotion, or you're not reacting to something. So if those, you can tell, if someone does not have a mindfulness or meditation practice, things will get them angry really quick. They'll get upset very quick. There's not an element of like equanimity, of just like balance, not being extreme on either end, because guess what? The only constant is change. So it's our role to just surrender, to honor what is, and to choose to, even with whatever may be happening, to lead with the energy of love, of gratitude, of ease, of kindness. And so, yes, you can practice mindfulness in how you're cooking, in how you're speaking, in these kinds of things. That being said, there is something to be said for a stillness meditation to be your mindfulness, to be one of your mindfulness practices. Because as much as you can, of course, be mindful as you're doing anything, because what is mindfulness? Simply coming into presence. Though when you also have a specific stillness meditation practice, it allows things to be more quiet, so that wisdom nuggets, where all of a sudden, you just have like a gut instinct, like, oh, I have a feeling that this is a good opportunity, or this is someone I can trust. Listen to the language we use, a gut instinct. Oh, I have this weight lifted off my shoulders. We're talking about our body. So actually our body gives us many cues that our mind is in some other place. So that's why it's important to have a practice where you're moving your body, moving stuck energy, dancing, shaking, yoga, just twisting, waking up in the morning. And I do a lot of posts around this, around wake up in the morning, still your mind. And again, stilling your mind, this doesn't have to be a 3-hour meditation practice. It can be just taking 10 long, slow, mindful breaths. So wake up, still the mind, and move the body. And of course, I have the days where I had like a 2-hour like solo dance party, and that was my amazing morning practice. And sometimes I just have like 10 minutes of doing nice deep twists and just twisting and waking up my spine. That is something that will continue to serve you, because then those aha moments, as we spoke about the chakras and the channels, you are moving this energy in the morning so that wisdom, remember, everything is energy, right? And we are pure channels for that. So once we've opened and we've done the visualizations of clearing, those codes are able to land in our body with more ease. So one thing that I would love to share with you is, firstly, I would also love to connect with everyone beyond this. I'm most active on Instagram, so please do add me there. My handle is Shalini Sarena. And one thing that I guide every month is I guide a free new moon and full moon meditation. And I've guided many of these in person. I've done a lot of ceremonies and practices like this in person in my home in Bali, where I lived for most of last year, and actually here in India. I'm currently in Bombay. And the full moon in Virgo, which was 2 full moons ago, I guided a beautiful practice at Soho House in Mumbai. And it was my first one with both men and women, which again, we're all one. It's a really, really beautiful container. About 50 people showed up. And it's something I'm very passionate about, which is helping people connect with their own respective mindfulness and meditation practice, helping people step into whatever that looks like for themselves. And then also allowing people to reconnect with the powerful energy that is the moon. And so when you take time and you're looking at a beautiful sunset, or like you're looking at the rainfall, as we mentioned earlier in our discussion, where when you're out in nature, you just feel nice and calm. Why is that? Because nature is simply being. And also when you recognize these elements of nature, you realize that there's something so much greater. And so if you're interested in those moon meditations, join me on Instagram, and we'll definitely, the next one will be on full moon on May 7th at 7 p.m. And so I guide those there, but just here on this call, again, we can speak to mindfulness. And something I wanted to offer is perhaps we could do a short 5 to 10-minute meditation here, so you can feel what that's like, just feeling, getting into the senses. I want to know if this is something that interests you though. So we have a poll here if you are interested in something like that. So, I mean, speaking about mindfulness is one thing, but to really experience like, oh, okay, this is what it means to really slow down and be present with all my senses. I wanted to give you that experience here if that is something that you're interested in. And if you're not, all good. And if you are, then we can either do it here, and if not, you know that you can connect with me on Instagram, and I offer that for free twice a month, perhaps even more, because of the wonderful feedback that I've been getting. Yeah, it makes me really happy that this is even a session here for Gen Z, and oh my gosh, the newer generations are just so wise, such like star children, so aware, and coming into a world where it's like, yeah, of course equality matters. Yeah, of course, like just like such beautiful humans, you know. It's so, I'm so happy that this is a discussion. Whoa, amazing. Oh, this warms my heart. Are you interested in going through a 5 to 10 minute live meditation? 106% yes. I mean, I don't even know how that math is possible, but I'm loving it. All right, amazing, cool. All right, everybody. I'm so happy to hear that. Let's drop into a meditation state together. So what I'd like for you to do is just get really comfortable. I'm sitting on a chair here. I've got my back supported. I just want you to look around your space, and you know, if you're comfortable where you are, just make sure you're nice and at ease. And over the next few breaths, just gently close your eyes if they're not already closed, and begin to slow down the breath. Begin to take long, slow, deep breaths through the nose. Your eyes are closed. Your back is upright. And just allow yourself to really land in this seat here. Allow everything to arrive. And just be connected to your long, slow, deep breath through the nose. Really feel the breath moving, your lungs filling up on the inhales and completely emptying on the exhales. And notice while you are able to both feel the breath, you can also hear the breath. The air moving through your nostrils. Feel the breath, hear the breath. Fully be with this vibration. Imagine this wave. And just feel all the elements within you right now. Feel that energy of air moving through your lungs. Feel the groundedness of the earth beneath your seat, whether you're sitting on the floor, sitting on a cushion, sitting on a chair. Just Feel that groundedness of Mama Earth. Feel the vibration of how held and how supported you are. The energy of earth, the energy of air, giving you this movement of flow, of being connected to the infinite. When you see air and smoke come from incense up into the sky, agarbatti, from a candle, feel the element of fire within you, your digestive system, just the warmth of when your hands are rubbed together. Just feel that element of fire within you. Earth, air, fire, and of course, water. Our blood, our sweat, our tears, our organs, all of this. And allowing our meditation practice here as we become aware of all these elements that are within us, allowing our meditation practice to be a reminder that we are no different from nature. The earth is 75% water, and so is our body. Taking deep breaths through the nose, and just notice as you scan your body, perhaps if there's anywhere that you could relax even 10% more. Could you relax your forehead? Could you relax your jaw? Could you relax your shoulder blades? Can you relax and arrive even more deeply into your seat? And now over the next few breaths, on the inhales, I want you to visualize a beautiful white pulsing light that's coming up from the very core of the earth. It goes up all the layers of the earth, through the surface of the earth, through your seat, up your spine, through your neck, through your crown, and all the way up to the infinite above you. This beautiful pulsing light is going up on the inhales. And then on the exhales, visualize that pulsing light coming all the way back down from those galaxies and universes above, through all the layers of the atmosphere, going through your crown, through your head, through your neck, down your spine, through your seat, through all the layers of the earth to the very core of the earth. And just allow your next few breaths to connect with this visualization, this beautiful pulsing light, up on the inhales and down on the exhales. And know that each time that this white light travels through your body, it's purifying. It's removing anything that is not yours. It's removing fear. It's removing anxiousness. It's removing any of these energies that keep you constricted. It's moving that through. Feel that being melted away, being cleared as this beautiful pulsing light goes through your system. And while it's clearing and making space, at the same time, it's also leaving you wisdom codes. It's leaving for you in your being little aha moments of truth. Some that will show up right away, some that will show up later on today, some that will show up in the next few days. It's not our job to analyze this. It is simply our job to be present and to receive and to match our energy for that which we are calling in, which is love, peace, happiness, joy. These vibrations, because everything is energy. So feeling that clearing as this white pulsing light is moving through your system, clearing at the same time, bringing in wisdom nuggets. Really, really, really feel that. And if your mind has wandered off, don't punish yourself. Simply remember that we are human, recognize the thought, and come back. Make the decision to come back to your breath. Come back to the present moment. Now, I would like for you to bring your attention to your third eye point. This is the point between your eyebrows. This is the seat of your intuition. It's May 1st today, and when we start a new week, when we start a new month, when we start a new moon cycle, we get an opportunity to really plant a deep intention and make some beautiful commitments on how we plan to show up for ourselves. And so in this moment, I just want you to connect with what that intention feels for you. It's May 1st, my loves. We're in the power year that is 2020, 2020. This is all about clear vision. Lies and falseness doesn't work anymore. Transparency, truth, and love are the vibrations that are here to stay. And so when you think of those vibrations, set an intention for what this month of May represents for you. How do you plan to consistently show up for yourself every day? What practices can you bring into your life, even if it's just 10 deep present breaths when you wake up? Even if it's just 5 things that you're grateful for that you write every day before you go to bed. Make that commitment to yourself now in this moment in our meditation, connecting with your third eye point. Now, very gently, with your eyes still closed, bring your palms to your heart center. Bring in this gesture of namaste, in this gesture of peace. And just feel your palms resting against one another at your heart center. And just allow this to be a gesture of balance. Rub your palms together, generating some heat. And now bring your hands over your eyes, on your face. Your eyes are still closed. And just feel the warmth of your hands on your face. Again, reminding you that everything is energy, and just allow this gesture to be a gesture of integration. And very gently in your own time, begin to open your eyes, removing your hands away from your face, slowly allowing more light to come in. Slowly allowing yourself to look around the space, allowing more forms to take shape, allowing colors to become brighter. And just notice that even with your eyes open, you can remain in this inward and meditative state. And there you have it. That is what a simple mindfulness, meditative practice feels like. It's getting clear. It's allowing everything to slow down, being with all your senses. And if that interests you, there's so many apps and such, but really you don't need technology at all, right? It's just slowing down and being present. It's that simple. It's just listening to your breath. And perhaps there's certain visualizations that just naturally come through for you. Perhaps you're like, there's a lotus flower growing at the seat of where your body meets the earth. Or perhaps there's a lotus flower at the crown of your head. Or perhaps an image of a certain god or goddess comes in. There's no rules. There's no rules. And what's beautiful about connecting with a meditation practice is that we get to, as I mentioned, I really enjoy helping people connect with their own respective meditation practice, because there's no one way. And when we go through our life journey, this is what it's about. It's about creating, oh, this tool really resonates with me. And then creating the toolkit that serves you to be in alignment, to be showing up in your highest, to be leading with love. And that's what our life journey is about. It's not about this title of like, I do this, or like, I'm from this background, I was born in this country. These are all labels. It doesn't matter. We're all one. What are we actually? Love and light. So what are we doing to amp up that energy space and vibrate that out in the world? So I'd love to create some time here for questions and answers. So I'll hand it back over.
Thank you so much, Shalini. I really hope all of you enjoyed not just what Shalini said about mindfulness, but also what she guided you to experience and how it feels when you experience being in the present. So, with that, we'll take a couple of questions. Please feel free to ask her any questions around, of course, mindfulness, but also around health and good food. Any questions that you might have, please feel free to direct that to Shalini via a Q&A option. We have a couple of questions already, Shalini. Our first question is, does mindfulness also contribute to good physical health apart from mental health?
Yes, for sure. It definitely does. We are this blend of mind, body, spirit. And so when you're mindful about what's going on up here, because this is the physical form that we've showed up in on this planet, it very much does make sense to take care of your body, because these are the sensory points. If you really slow down and just like touch your fingers and notice, wow, we are such sensitive beings. Like you don't even have to touch something and you can feel it just from, that's like the auric energy, and energy goes far beyond just the physical form. So we want to make sure that we're moving our bodies so that we can be more attuned to those signs and wisdom nuggets that are always around us, but sometimes we're so in the mind, or our energy is so blocked in our body because we're eating fried foods or heavy foods or refined sugars, or perhaps just not moving the body. So our energy is like this. So when we do the practice that we're moving and that we've stilled our mind, and just like in the meditation where we cleared the channel with that light, those codes can really land in your system. If it's like this, you're not even going to recognize that synchronicity that is right in front of your face.
Thank you, Shalini. We have another question, which is, what tips would you give to Gen Z to improve their lifestyle in terms of health and wellness?
Be present, be present. Don't be in your head of, oh, but this might happen, or this thing happened in school yesterday, or this thing happened 3 years ago. It doesn't matter. Have compassion with yourself. If something happened, don't hold grudges. Don't be hard on yourself for something you did do or didn't do. How are you showing up in the now? The now is the only thing that matters. So my biggest recommendation would just be loving to others, to yourself, because the relationship that you have with yourself is your key to how you connect with spirit. And how you treat yourself is what will be reflected back to you in the relationships in your life. You essentially teach people how you want to be treated. So that like self-love, and you showing up for yourself, giving yourself healthy foods, like nourishing stilling the mind, moving the body, doing these things, that it's such a win-win loop, right? It helps your physical moment in this being, but then it also helps the collective, because it's that like inspiration loop too.
Amazing. Thank you, Shalini. There's somebody who quickly wants you to repeat your Instagram account. If you could quickly do that before we move on to our next question.
Yeah, I'll also add it in the chat. It's simply my first name and my middle name, Shalini Sarena. I'll put it here.
Yeah, there we go. We have an Instagram handle on chat for those of you who want to refer to that. Our next question is from Babita. When we think of someone frequently, do we connect ourselves to that person on a soul level?
When we think of somebody frequently, does that mean we connect with them on a soul level? There is no interpretation of like, this is happening, does this mean this? Because actually that means we're reading too much into it. So there's no rules of like, oh, because this is happening, this must be what it means. It could be that, but I would recommend not reading into it so much. Like, this would require a deeper dialogue. It would be interesting to know like what thoughts in particular are coming up. But immediately what's coming up is just to say, don't overthink it. Like, sometimes we have dreams and it's like, oh my gosh, I had this dream with this strange creature and strange storyline. What does it mean about me? It's like, chill. It's all good. You don't need to create this big story like, oh, this happened. Yeah, it does require a deeper dialogue on like what in particular, but as an overarching response to the question, I would say there is no formula. Like, if something is happening, like, it could just be energy moving through. You don't have to read into it too much or create a story around it. But perhaps if it's a certain scenario where it's like, oh, this is coming up, maybe it's coming up as a sign to say, hey, something needs to be worked through here, or there's still tension space around this that you keep going here. Perhaps there's something to be cleared. But without knowing the specifics, I can't answer that as pointedly as I'd certainly like to. So just reach out to me on Instagram, I suppose.
Absolutely. We have another question, which is, what's the difference between mindfulness and consciousness?
So consciousness can be equated to energy. So consciousness is like the higher consciousness that is, right? Mindfulness is being aware of that. So you may have people in your life where it's like, wow, they are not vibrating at the energy of being connected to that higher consciousness. They're very much in the dense 3D world. They are addicted to TV. They are addicted to many other things. And, they are always worried, or they are always pessimistic, or they're in like these denser, like heavy vibrations, versus someone who is light and loving, and they're in that vibration of consciousness. So someone who's in dense, who's like gambling, like who knows, whatever story that might be, there is consciousness not only around them but within them, but they haven't recognized that yet. They're in a state of being trapped in the material world or in whatever story that they have created for themselves. So consciousness is everywhere. Consciousness is actually what is. Like, that is, it's everything is energy. Consciousness equals energy. Mindfulness is when you, the human you, which, like, we're way more than just the human us, right? We're energy. We are part of that consciousness. Mindfulness is when the human you is like, hold on, I'm more than just these flesh and bones. I'm going to connect with that consciousness. And how am I going to do that? Via mindfulness, via meditation, via yoga, via Ayurvedic cooking. Get me?
All right, that's great. Thank you, Shalini. We'll take one last question, which is that, why did you decide to practice mindfulness?
Ooh, why did I? So, yeah, I have had quite the journey of a life, as we all have. And I have moved to a lot of places. I grew up in London. I've lived in the US for most of my life: San Francisco, New York, LA, Miami. And when I was younger, there were a few divorces in the family. And, I had a former stepmother who was bipolar, and it was quite difficult living under her roof. And so I became independent at quite an early age. I put myself through school when I was 16. I had 5 scholarships. I've always been quite nerdy. I had 5 scholarships to university in Florida. And I really, all of a sudden, my family world became just me. And so I was like, hold on, there's no way. Like, we're part of something so much greater. So just inherently, when I was quite young, because I was alone, or I was like, very, like, just very involved. And also I moved from England to America to Miami, which is like a very cool city. And I was very nerdy, and I was younger than everyone, like not in any of, I was just observing a lot. So I became very aware. I was just looking and learning. And even though my home, like immediate family environment became very, very small very quickly, I realized that I'm actually connected to the infinite. I'm connected to something so much greater. And yes, my home environment may not be the warmest currently, but that doesn't need to be my reality. So I would see friendships that had really loving family home environments, or the way that their parents communicated to one another and to their children was really loving. And I was like, hold on, that can be my frame. So, it is certainly a longer story of like what I've navigated in life, also working in tech, the sexism, the racism, and the spectrum of that I have seen and experienced in that. I went through a lot of elements of, life. And I got the opportunity to really, I did my yoga teacher training back in 2016. And I got the opportunity to look at these things and say, yes, there have been things in my life that have caused me sadness and caused me anger and caused me pain. That being said, that doesn't need to be something that I stay in. It's important to recognize that, move it through, and even in those states, where can I have gratitude and take ownership? Like life is like life is the full spectrum of the human experience. And so it was through my own navigation of the traumas that I had been through and giving time for that to be moved through and seeing firsthand what a gift it is to bring in mindfulness and meditation into your life. So you're not into this state of like being the victim or being a sad story or being like, you know what I'm saying? Just taking charge of your energy state. And I don't say take control, because again, it's a fallacy that we have control, but taking charge of how you're showing up, of, hey, I get to be in a state of joy, of love. And I've felt it firsthand. I've navigated the journey with helping a lot of people create that for themselves. And it's such a joy. A lot of people speak about the work that you do is like an extension of what you've navigated. So like, this is a path that I've been on and will continue to be on. And I know what a gift it is to be free of the old stories, of the future stuff, be in the now, like, be in these vibrations of expansion and truth. So yeah, that was what drew me through it, just my own life experiences. And I'm really grateful that from a young age, I was able to, instead of, being drawn in being those old stories, there was just something in me that was like, no, actually, life gets to be framed differently and experienced differently. Thank you for asking.
Thank you so much, Shalini. Thank you for sharing your personal story with us as well. Thank you. I know I said that was the last question, but we have one more question that's come up, which I personally also want to know the answer to, which is that how can we stay consistent? Like after having a good week, we have that day which changes our mood for a long time. How can we come back to the good feeling? It's the question from Abhishek. If you could give us a quick answer to that before we close.
So it's all about how are you creating habits? It's not about just saying like, okay, I'm going to do this every day now. Okay, like how are you going to do it? There's something called habit stacking. So say you say, I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes every day, but then how are you stacking that? So perhaps you brush your teeth and then you do it right after because you've already brushed your teeth every day. So that habit is already there. And then you can stack it on top of that. And it's also about making it something that's manageable. If you've never meditated before, saying that, hey, let me meditate for 90 minutes starting tomorrow, it's not going to be an enjoyable experience or really realistic. So perhaps start with 3 minutes. And once that is like in your schedule and that feels good, and then you want to up to 10 minutes or whatever it be. And being consistent is just making the choice. It just is like, and when you don't, if there's one day that you don't, that's where that self-compassion comes in, and not being hard on yourself and not just giving up of like, oh, I said I would, now what's the point? I'm never going to meditate this month again. No. If that happens, it's like, okay, I have some self-compassion for myself. I love myself. It's cool. I got distracted because I had this and this morning. Tomorrow I get to make a choice again. That's what it's about. Like not being attached on this old thing, and then actively showing up for yourself. I think it's also helpful to have accountability. So perhaps you tell a sibling of yours or a dear friend of yours, hey, I'm doing this meditation challenge. I want to meditate every day for 15 minutes. Let's do it together. Or, hey, do you mind if I check in with you and just let you know that I did this? Or perhaps even start sharing on social media. I, again, can tell you firsthand the incredible ripple over effect of when I share my practice every day. I do like a time lapse of my morning practice of meditation, yoga, movement. And it's so easy for me. I just hit time lapse and share. And the responses of like, oh, it's so refreshing to see you come to your practice every day. It's so inspiring. Like I may not be in those physical spaces, but I receive that energy which is sent to me. And that ripple over effect, even if you're just bringing in meditation to your life, if you were to share on your stories, like, hey, I'm really interested in meditation. Does anyone else here meditate? Like, to create that kind of dialogue that's rippling out is so powerful versus any energy of fear. It's like, hey, let's up level. Hey, let's bring like peace and calm to our lives. Okay, great plan. Let's do it. You know?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shalini. That was absolutely a lovely session. I hope you really, all of you who are watching this session, really benefited from this session and now know a thing or more about, how you practice mindfulness, especially for those who already had a mindfulness practice in place. I hope you've learned something new. And of course, you can always reach out to Shalini if you want to continue this conversation. Beyond that, if you do want to continue this conversation offline, which we really encourage you to do, please use our social media handles and use the hashtag Gen Z Solvers and Solvers Interactive. And of course, please feel free to reach out to Shalini for those of you who want to speak to her directly and get some perspective on more personal things. Thank you so much for joining us once again. And thank you so much, Shalini, for taking us through this experience. It was absolutely lovely having you on board. Thank you so much. And we take your leave from here, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.